All right, so it looks like our waiting room has finally died down a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully you're all in the right place. Today is the Ask Me Anything from Seagate Technology. So we're super excited to host this event for you all. So for those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Larissa Bates. I am a career counselor here at the San Jose State Career Center. We also have from Seagate, Catherine Chow, who will be a moderator to introduce our keynote. And then hopefully you guys are super excited to meet Manjusha and hear a little bit more about her story. She'll be sharing what it's like to be a senior director over at Seagate. So for those of you who are just joining in, do make sure to complete that Google form that's in the chat. That helps us actually verify that you attended this session today. Also, we're just going to ask that you kindly keep your audio and video muted. We will have time for audience Q&A, but until then, please keep your audio muted. And if you prefer to have your video off, you can do that. If you want it on, you can do that. Just please make sure that you are not being distracted. All right, so what you can expect today, we'll do a quick kind of welcome. We have a demo of SJSU Squared, which is our mentorship platform. So if you wanted to continue the conversation with Manjusha or any of the other Seagate representatives that are here today, and that's where you can connect with them all. We'll have some time for our keynote, and then we'll open it up for student Q&A. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with SJSU Squared, it is a mentorship platform that's exclusive to you as San Jose State students. So this is a collaboration between our Alumni Association and our Career Center, and we reach out to alumni and other industry professionals and ask them if they're willing to share advice or stories or tips and advice regarding career success. So everyone on this platform has said yes to that and is a resource for you all to reach out to and get support and advice. So I will show you guys a live version, but just as I mentioned earlier, Seagate is on the platform. They have their own group where you are able to interact with not only Manjusha, but other professionals from Seagate that you can network with, get career advice, and get some information about networking, best practices for job internship search. So I'd highly encourage you all to get connected to that platform if you haven't done so already. So I'm going to switch over to live view so that you can see how to get here and what types of information you can find on this platform. And then just a reminder, if you're joining in a little bit late, there is a link in the chat for a Google form. Please do complete that so that we are able to verify that you actually attended today's session. All right, so for SJSU Squared, if you'd like to continue the conversation with any of these Seagate mentors after today's session, you're going to want to go to the Career Center website. So if you just Google SJSU Career Center, it will come up. And then under resources is where you'll find SJSU Squared. So if I click on that, it'll take me to a landing page that has a bit of information about this platform. If I click on the image, it'll go ahead and prompt me to sign in to this platform with my SJSU One ID and password. I'm already logged in. I already have a profile created, so it's going to take me directly to this landing page. But just know if this is your first time logging in, it does require you to create a profile with your work history, a short bio, information, so as you're reaching out to people, they know a little bit about who you are. All right, so for the groups, this is where you're going to go. You'll see a tab here, and then you'll be able to find the Seagate Technology Mentors on here. So I can see all of the members in this group. If I was interested in connecting with any of these folks, I could join this specific group, and then I'm able to connect with any of the folks that are here on this platform. So Seagate has a lot of different folks on here, not just Manjusha, who you'll hear from a little bit later today, that you can reach out with for career advice and tips. Right, so just sharing that resource with you all in case you would like to continue the conversation. All right, so with that, I am actually going to pass it over to Catherine to introduce today's keynote.
Great. Thank you so much, Larissa. Really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Ask Me Anything event. I'm Catherine Chow, a member of the Internal Communications and Community Engagement team here at Seagate. A little bit about Seagate, just so the students here kind of understand our business and our solutions that we provide. We kind of craft the data sphere. We help maximize humanity's potential by innovating world-class precision engineered data management solutions with a focus on sustainable partnerships. I'm really thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker today, Manjusha Gangadharan, Senior Director of Live Cloud Professional Services. Her team helps customers achieve their business objectives with the Live Cloud, which is a storage as a service solution, and accelerates our customers' journeys to the cloud through advisory and consulting avenues. In her role, she's responsible for establishing the charter for her organization, equipping customers to take on their challenges, and much, much more. In her spare time, she enjoys crocheting and composting, which I'm sure she'll talk a little bit more about. And without further ado, please welcome Manjusha. Manjusha, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, my name is Manjusha Gangadharan. I have been at Seagate for the last 8 months or so. Prior to that, I have about 21 years of experience working in the professional services industry. The company I was working for is Wipro. I joined Wipro as an engineer fresh out of college. And I started off as a systems engineer, went up into getting into program management and project management. But one of the things that I started doing quite early on was, I think I was open to recognizing opportunities and being able to pivot into something different, which would give me an additional experience or help me round the way that I look at corporate life. So over the 22 years that I've had, I've done several roles with marketing, pre-sales, sales, PMO kind of role. I was chief of staff for the president of manufacturing and technology for some time. And my last role in Wipro was the global head of strategy for the technology business unit, which at the time was a $1.5 billion business. And my journey has now taken me here to Seagate, where Seagate is in a stage where they are also pivoting, from the traditional ways of doing business into moving into a service industry, right? And we launched our product Live Cloud in February this year, which is our first foray into the cloud space. And that is a public cloud, which is storage as a service. And what my team does is to help customers get comfortable with Live Cloud. We show them demos, we show them different solutions that can be built around Live Cloud, and we help them reach a point where they decide that they want to engage with us. Now, prior to them deciding that they engage with us, we also help them with the implementation of Live Cloud. So we work with their teams and we understand their landscape, and we will help them configure, integrate, optimize Live Cloud for their business outcomes. And that's the way that we kind of built the professional services organization within Seagate for the last 8 months or so. Now, I see a question which has already popped up. It says, any tips on telling which pivots are good to follow up and which are dead ends? That's a great question. And, guys, if it's okay, I'm going to start looking at some of these questions and answering them as we go along. Christine, is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll have time for Q&A, but if you are able to answer them now, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we'll have set time.
Absolutely. So, it's a great question on pivots. I think, when we look at opportunities to pivot, we do really need to become a little selfish on having clarity on what we are trying to achieve. What are we trying to learn, right? For me, when I joined Wipro as a technical person, as an engineer, I was very curious about how the business operated. I was very curious about how businesses are grown from a nascent stage to a multi-billion-dollar business or a multi-million-dollar business. So I was looking out for opportunities to be able to get into some of those seeding engagements, those incubation projects where they came up with a new idea and I wanted to be a piece of it. I wanted to be a part of it. And then I wanted to understand all of the different facets of a business. So to me, that meant marketing, it meant sales, it meant technical sales, it meant delivery, program management. I think other than HR and finance, I think I've done probably most of the other roles which are there within an organization. And you need to be very careful about what pivots you go after. They have to add value to what you're trying to do. One of the things that I also wanted to highlight is when you're looking at value for yourself, you also need to focus on value, not just from a professional standpoint, but value holistically as a person, right? There has to be a balance between work and life. I know it's very cliche to say work-life balance, but whatever it is that you choose to do, it has to be fulfilling on multiple levels, and it has to allow you to grow as a person and not just as a professional. Your professional life is possibly 50% of what you do, and everything else is life. So you need to be able to find time to nurture your family, nurture your interests. We talked about, they mentioned that I'm a crochet enthusiast and a composting enthusiast. Well, one of the things that I do in my spare time is I crochet a lot of hats, which are donated to some of the chemo facilities around the Bay Area. I try to do one hat a day so that there's at least 30 hats that I'm donating. Or I was also a part of my son's school side council. I was the chairperson of the school side council because I'm passionate about early education. I'm also passionate about the community. So I did find some time to take out to be a board member of the public library, where I was the chair of marketing and fundraising. So there has to be a balance in what we do. And I think, with that, I'm fairly open to any questions that you may have. And how can I help you?
Great. So thanks, Manjusha, for giving a little bit of background on your story thus far. Hopefully that has been inspiring to some of the students that are in the room. If you all have questions to help us kind of manage this a little bit better, if you could either put them in the chat, or if you prefer to unmute yourself and ask Manjusha a question live, please, under reactions, use the raise hand feature so that we're able to queue you guys up and make sure that you're able to, ask without necessarily overlapping with other folks. So if you have questions, now is your time. Either raise your hand under the reactions or go ahead and throw those in the chat for us. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I think it would be helpful if you could maybe share a little bit on how your organization supports diversity and inclusion. I know that's a big topic for a lot of students right now, how to find like a good fit for a company. So do you mind sharing a little bit more about, your organization's kind of programs around that and what you would recommend for students that see that as an area of concern?
Absolutely. Seagate has a tremendous focus on diversity and inclusion, both within the organization and as a part of our hiring policies. And so with that, I'll actually request someone from my team, if Krista is on, if you could take on this question in greater detail.
Hi, sure, yes. Larissa, again, can you tell me what the question was?
Sure, absolutely. So the question was how your organization supports diversity and inclusion in hiring and also kind of, long-term kind of development. So if you have any employee resource groups, anything kind of in those spaces.
Yes, and great question. So our team was speaking about this earlier. We said, we anticipate this question might come up. So great question. So I can speak on this from a couple of different angles. So one is from the talent acquisition side. So yes, we are strong supporters of diversity and inclusion. And in fact, one of interesting fact is that we actually have for this last year, 60% of our events were diversity and inclusion focused. So we have several target focus schools that we attend events at, San Jose State being one of those. And each year our recruiters and employees connect up with various diversity groups. So the Society for Women Engineers, Women in Computing, Society for Hispanic Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers. There's a variety of groups that we market and outreach to. We will attend sessions, info sessions, and host students for events and things like that. So recommendation to students is if you're not already a part of one of these organizations, definitely get involved because it's a chance to meet different companies. It's a chance to network with fellow students and a really great opportunity to explore career opportunities. So we continue to build those relationships each year. And then on the employee side of the house, one interesting thing is that we do actually have employee resource groups. I think we have 25 of them right now. We have over 2,300 members. And those are across 5 different countries. And those range from everything from the women's leadership group, professionals of color. We have an interfaith, Asian Pacific community, Pride. There is something for everyone. And the great news is that if you don't see something, you can always create an employee resource group and find other people who share your interests and backgrounds. So there's a great opportunity to get involved. A lot of opportunities as well at Seagate for getting involved with activities with those employee resource groups. So yes, the company is very committed to it and really is very supportive of our recruiting practices and outreach, as well as helping you to develop as an employee once you come in the door.
Awesome. Sounds like you guys have a lot going on in that space. So that's really great to hear. So we have a couple other questions that have come into the chat. So a little bit of a gear shift. We have a student that wants to know a little bit more about how did you make your way up as a senior director? So maybe sharing a little bit more of like the step-by-step, how you were able to make those transitions.
I think more than the designation of senior director, I would actually focus on the role, right? Which is heading professional services for Live Cloud. Let's just keep the designation aside. Let's focus on the role. So for me to get here, what did I need as experience? I needed to know how to serve customers. I needed to know, what is the technical know-how that needs to be in place, the frameworks that need to be in place to deliver professional services to my end customer, right? So that means understanding the technology, understanding the customer, understanding business dynamics, understanding service delivery, and so on. There should be some marketing involved. There is some technical sales involved. So all of those skill sets were things that I needed to build in all the years before me, right? So if you look at my career path of being an engineer, being a project manager, a program manager, a marketing head, a technical sales head, establishing business units, getting into strategy, all of these components kind of meshed well together to position myself for this professional services organization role. Now the role is to head up this unit, and therefore the designation comes with it, right? Which is the senior director designation, which empowers me at a position to be able to make the decisions that I need to make to run this organization, right? Maybe in smaller organizations, this role could be a vice president. In much more larger organizations, this could be a director. So, more than that designation, it's the role that matters. I hope I answered your question, Abdul.
Yes, thank you for sharing a little bit more on that. Manjusha, if you don't mind, it might be helpful to also kind of clarify for students if that was strategic, if you kind of like knew where you wanted to go and then you kind of built those skills accordingly, or was this something that like as you tried out different things, you kind of figured out the pathway? If you don't mind sharing a little bit more in that space.
Absolutely. One of the things that I would encourage students, and especially because of where you are in your life, don't be scared to experiment. Don't be scared to take risks. There's little that can go wrong, right? You have a job, try different things, because you don't know, you may think you know what you want in life, but life is something very, very different. It may not end up the way you intended. So be open, okay? For me, my goal when I joined, when I started my job was at some point of time, I wanted to be responsible for strategic decisions which were made at a business. I mean, it was a very nebulous kind of a thought that this is what I wanted to do, right? And as I grew within Wipro, my previous organization, I was looking for different kinds of experiences which would position me to take up a leadership role. And I think about 4 years into my job, I realized the role that I wanted to do was to head strategy for a business unit. I didn't know which business unit. It could have been automotive, it could have been retail, but I wanted to head strategy. I wanted to develop strategies towards business growth. And so everything that I did was strategic in trying to get to that position. Now, once I got to that position, and I did that position for a few years, I was actually scratching my head. Okay, now what do I do? Right? And that's when I actually started talking to people. I was leveraging my network. Over the last 20 years, I've built connections, whether they are alumni, whether they are my colleagues, ex-colleagues, customers, partners. And I started reaching out to people, seeking their advice, saying that, look, I've done all of this. Where do you think I should go from now? And that's another thing that I would really advise people. Ask for help, ask for advice, be open. And it's not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength to ask for advice. So when I started talking to people, there were several opportunities that came my way. And this professional services opportunity really just checked all the boxes for me. It was like I had all of these years of experience I could bring to the table. It was an empowering role where I can make decisions on how this organization is shaped. And I truly believe that this is an organization that can provide tremendous value to Seagate as well as to end customers, right? So I think that's been the journey. Some of it has been strategic, Larissa, and some of it has been, okay, I'm going to try this out because, I just want to, and I want to see what value it brings to me. I hope that answered your question, Larissa.
Yeah, I think that was really insightful, and hopefully it's helpful for some of the students that are maybe at the beginning of their career journeys to know that maybe you don't have to have all the answers right now, but definitely need to kind of pay attention as you go through your careers, things that you enjoy or the things that you're curious about, and leveraging those over time to get closer and closer to the role that you are really wanting to do. But I love that you shared that you maybe didn't know like what that answer was to begin with, and that you had lots of different experiences and work, and then also networking with alumni, other professionals to kind of help you along the way. We're definitely also at the SHU Career Center, we know the power of a good network to support you in getting to where you want to go. So I really appreciate you for mentioning that piece as well.
One tip that I like to give people, not just students, but my peers, sometimes my bosses, is that who did you have coffee with this week? And the idea is, don't keep having coffee with your friends. Ask somebody out for coffee just to catch up. It could be anyone, and it should be somebody new every week, so that you're constantly building your network and nurturing your relationships. And you never know. And the idea is not to build a network with a goal in mind. It's just to build a network for the sake of building a network.
Yeah, so maybe Manjusha, you'll get some virtual coffee requests after today.
Gimme.
All right, so we have some other questions, and I'm not sure, Manjusha, if you'll be able to answer these, but students are really curious about Seagate internships. So we have a student asking about the Seagate offer internships for entrepreneur majors. And then we have another student asking about product management internships for graduate students specifically. So I'm not sure if you're able to kind of share on some of the maybe internship programs or recruitment programs that you guys have.
We do have internship programs, and we've had some interns within our group as well, within the Live Cloud group. But I will defer this to Catherine, if you could identify a person from our team who could address this better.
Absolutely. So I think Krista's probably, sorry to tap on you again, but if you would be able to answer this question. And I'm also going to, in the chat, enter a link for students. It's a resource for the university programs that Seagate has. And Krista, if you don't mind expanding on it, students, I think, would be grateful to hear more about internships and those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. So I manage our U.S. university recruiting team, and so I have a high-level insight into our program. So every year we hire between 150 and 200 interns in the United States. Roles are about 75 to 80% technical. So as in, we're hiring majors who are pursuing bachelor's, master's, or even PhD. Primarily, it's bachelor's and master's in the technical fields. And about 25% of our roles are non-technical majors, more on the business side, marketing, sales, accounting, those kinds of things. So your question is very timely. We are actually in the process right now of opening up many of our positions. And so Catherine will share out that link. When you take a look at our careers page, you can actually go and filter by interns. So you can see it'll say more options, filter by employee type. And you can see we have right now over 30 open positions that are posted in the US. More and more are coming each day. We are just waiting on managers to begin opening those positions up. So in terms of, there was a question about project management or entrepreneurship. I think what it is taking a look at our job descriptions and seeing, is this what I want? Kind of back to Manjusha's point, like, does this kind of jive with my own interests? Can I see myself here? If you see a role that says, we're looking for, marketing, sales, business majors, and maybe your major is outside of that, but you think, gosh, I really could be a good fit for this. Take a look at that description, and you may need to, if you see some things in the description, you may need to tweak your resume to reflect back that you have those skill sets. So I'm not saying be deceptive and say, oh yes, I can do C++ coding if you can't. But certainly if you have a skill set that you haven't called out that you do see in the job description, definitely make sure that that's in your resume. And that's things that our recruiters will look at. I mentioned earlier joining some of the diversity groups as well. Our team does recruit at those events and keeps an eye out for students who are members of those organizations. So if you're a member of an organization, we'll get a better insight into your application. So The internship program, just in a nutshell, typically 10 to 12 weeks in duration over the summer, although we do have some in the spring, we do have some in the winter. So, but primarily our interns are here with us in the summertime. And there are all sorts of activities. We have a pretty good onboarding program where you'll get a chance to meet your other fellow interns and hear from some guest speakers. And you will work for a manager directly and do real work. We pride ourselves on providing some pretty great projects out to our interns, and managers usually are putting those together throughout the, once they put the job description together, but of course, before the interns arrive. So 10 to 12 weeks of a lot of really good, robust work. And there's an opportunity to meet with our executives. We have lunch and learn sessions. When we're on site, we have lots of food, of course, for our interns, and networking opportunities, as well as an opportunity to socialize with each other. So we do some social events depending on where you're at. Primarily locations are Colorado, Minnesota, and California. This year and last year, of course, we had to pivot, right? So we've had a lot of remote interns. We've had some on-site, some 100% remote, some hybrid. So we're really hoping that next year we can see all of our interns on site. There's nothing like an in-person experience. And to back to Manjusha's point, one thing we really do is encourage inviting people out for coffee. Don't be afraid to reach out to an executive. If you attend, wherever you end up, if whatever internship you take at whatever company, if you're attending a session where there's an executive speaking or a subject matter expert, and you're like, wow, that really interests me, make sure that afterwards you reach out to them and say, hey, I would love to pick your brain or ask you some more questions. Something piqued my curiosity. This is what's going to help propel you in your career and your own personal life. And it seems scary. It really does seem scary, but honestly, you are at a point in your life, I think, where it's just lovely and acceptable for you to reach out to anyone and ask as many questions. I hear managers saying, oh, I'm so giddy. I had all these, students reach out to me, or some of our executives say, this is great. Like after my event, I had students reach out. They're amazed when that happens, because it doesn't happen that often. Not enough students take that very nerve-wracking leap forward to say, I'm going to reach out and actually ask an executive out to lunch or for coffee. So do it. Absolutely. You'll be amazed at what you'll get out of it. So
we love coffee. I mean, we love when people get us coffee. Manjusha, here's coffee. I want to pick your brain. Yes. But I think what you said about it being nerve-wracking is true, because it's not easy. It doesn't come naturally to people. But trust me, the worst thing that can happen is them saying, no, I'm busy. That's about it, right? It's not going to take anything away from you. But if they say yes, and you get that coffee, it could be a life-changing experience.
Absolutely. So, yep. So we had one intern who actually made it a point to meet with multiple people per week. And so I think over the course of her internship, she met with 40 different people and really expanded her network. But again, if you go in with it with not just like, ask some great questions, right? I think, and take away, if you've attended a session where they've spoken about something technical that you're like, I didn't get this, or gosh, this really seems, interesting to me. Tell me more about this one particular thing. And that's really a great way to also begin the conversation. But besides those wonderful opportunities, we also have poster sessions, end of season internship presentations, farewell events. So our interns are very well engaged. 98% of our interns would refer a friend, and 98% would want to return to Seagate. So it's pretty great. Upwards of 80 to 90% of our managers said that they would rehire their intern if they could. So I think by and large, everyone's having a really great experience, and our end goal is to convert you over to full-time opportunity if we have it. So that's kind of the internship program in a nutshell.
Thanks, Krista, for sharing some more details. So hopefully that has inspired some students in the room to apply, and not only that, but to reach out for some coffee chats. And definitely, even taking advantage of this space, right? I'm sure you guys remember the folks who asked you questions. You remember their names a little bit more. So as they're going through that application process, it does kind of help to stand out. So let me just double check to see the chat if I've missed any questions coming in. And then if there's anyone who wants to unmute themselves and introduce themselves, you're more than welcome to. Just please use the reactions to raise hand so that I can queue you guys up. All right, so I don't think I see any other questions coming in. I think maybe it might be good for a final question, which is to kind of maybe wrap up, sharing some advice for the future.
I think,
So,
sorry, Larissa, sorry. I think there's two more questions actually. One is, does Seagate hire at MS level for research or just PhDs? And then another question is, not really, I guess, not really relevant to the discussion, but we talk about the work-life balance. Do you join any crocheting club in the Bay or work by yourself? For Manjusha.
Right, I'm going to answer that the question first, and then we'll let Manjusha get to the really important question. So yes, so we do hire master's level students as well as PhD level students for research. We have a handful of positions that pop up each year for internships. Not a lot, but a handful. So depends on what the need is each year. But Seagate sponsors research at probably 25 or 30 universities globally at about $2.5 million each year. And so these are students who are at the master's and PhD level working on different projects on Seagate's behalf. So that is a group that we do tap into, but we do post those positions on our website. So if you find something that you're like, this looks pretty interesting, definitely reach out. Again, it's not a lot, it's a handful each year, but it does happen.
So Krista, to clarify, it looks like the student was asking about permanent roles for research, not internships.
Oh, got you. Yes. Okay. Yes. On the permanent side, yes, we do. So probably, gosh, I need to look at my PhD numbers. So on the research side, maybe 6 or 7 across the United States. Most of those are in either Fremont or in Minnesota, Fremont, California, or the Minneapolis area. I did see one requisition that just came through for a PhD data scientist. So not really on the research side so much, more on the signal processing side. But yes, there are some coming. There may be some opportunities in that space.
Do we hire MS level people for research as well?
Majority of what I see is PhD. So yeah, I'm just thinking that's probably the majority of what we see. If you've got the skill set though, I would recommend applying because, it's not like one size fits all and say, we don't have any hard and fast rule that says this, you must only have a PhD to apply. Certainly if you've got the background, then please do, because certainly there are a lot of people who do not have PhDs who may have the skill set that's needed.
Great, awesome. Then Manjusha, I'm sure you can take the knitting question.
Yes, absolutely. So no, I did not join a crocheting club, but I do work by myself, and there have been a few clubs that I've guest appeared on, where I just kind of show up, and then we talk about a bunch of projects that we work on together. And my favorite yarn shop, I don't have a favorite yarn shop because there is this organization called FABMO. I don't know if you're aware of this. It is FABMO, and what they do is they actually they rescue designer fabric from going into landfills, and they also rescue yarn, and they rescue notions. So every month they have a place where they, display all of this, and it's free. You go in there and you take whatever you can use, and you turn it into whatever you want. So I usually go there and I try to figure out what yarn I want to use, so that save the environment. Let's not have too many things going into landfills. So Lisa, look it up, fabmo.org. That's the website.
Sounds like a really awesome organization. So it looks like folks are saying thank you for sharing and that they're going to go ahead and check that out.
Awesome.
Christine, did I miss any other questions that have come through?
I think that's it for questions.
Okay, so maybe Manjusha, we can kind of wrap up with kind of sharing some final thoughts or advice for students as they prepare to enter the workforce. What would you, based on where you are now in your journey, like what advice would you give students as they prepare to enter the workforce?
Be fearless. Just be fearless. You have nothing to lose. Ask questions, ask for help, find a mentor, find a coach, leverage your network. But at the core of it all, find the courage to be fearless. That's the only advice that I would give.
I love that. That is great advice. So hopefully that inspires some of you in the room as you're going out into the world for those internships or, your first job after getting your degree, to just try it. Just try something out. Enjoy the experience, learn, reflect, and grow. And definitely, embrace those challenges and rather than shying away from them. So thank you so much, Manjusha, for sharing your story and your advice with students today. Students, if you could go ahead and give Manjusha a round of applause and thank her. Yes, I see lots of thank yous coming in the chat. Awesome. All right, so just to wrap up, I think Christine has put a link in the chat for our event survey. So if you guys could take a minute to complete that, so we know we should keep offering events like this if it's helpful for you all. And then that also enters you into our raffle to win a $20 Amazon gift card. And that raffle takes place in December. All right, awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. We're a little bit over time, but appreciate you guys for staying a little bit later.
Thanks, everyone, and good luck.
All right, well, take care. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon and a weekend.